Welcome, fellow gamers, to a showcase that redefines mobile gaming. We're diving deep into the world of PC games on Android, powered by the impressive capabilities of the MediaTek Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset. This isn't just about playing games, it's about pushing boundaries. Today, we're exploring the true potential of the GameHub Emulator, bringing an incredible library of titles from the big screen to the small one. Are you ready to witness what your smartphone can truly achieve? Let's begin the countdown of 35 groundbreaking games. Yakuza 0, a prequel to the iconic crime series, is a fantastic blend of intense combat and captivating storytelling. Its performance on GameHub is solid, holding a steady 40 frames per second. This is especially impressive for an open-world title, showcasing the emulator's ability to handle complex environments on the Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset. NBA 2K18, a basketball simulation game that brings the court to your screen. The GameHub emulator pushes this title to run between 40 and 50 frames per second, delivering a smooth gameplay experience. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset keeps the action fluid, making every dunk and pass feel responsive. Outlast, a horror survival game that's not for the faint of heart. This game runs at a fantastic 60 frames per second on the GameHub emulator, ensuring every tense moment and jump scare is delivered flawlessly. The high frame rate on the Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset makes for a truly terrifying and immersive experience. Resident Evil 6, a classic survival horror with a focus on action. It runs at a playable 30 frames per second on GameHub. While not buttery smooth, the frame rate is stable enough for you to navigate the chaotic world and intense combat encounters, all powered by the Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset. Left 4 Dead 2, a legendary co-op zombie shooter. Unfortunately, this title struggles on the GameHub emulator, running at a rough 15 to 20 frames per second. While it's playable, the low frame rate on the Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset makes the fast-paced action feel clunky and unresponsive. Prototype 2, a game about a shape-shifting protagonist with superhuman powers. The title manages a respectable 20 frames per second on the GameHub emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the chaotic open-world action and explosions fairly well, offering a decent experience for this classic sandbox game. Grand Theft Auto 4, a game known for its realistic physics and gritty storytelling. GameHub handles this title well, with a frame rate between 30 and 40 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset helps maintain performance in the busy streets of Liberty City, making for a smooth journey. Grand Theft Auto 5, one of the best-selling games of all time. This expansive open-world title performs admirably, running at a stable 30 to 40 frames per second on GameHub. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset demonstrates its power by rendering the vast and detailed world of Los Santos without significant stuttering. Tekken 7, a classic fighting game that's all about fast-paced combat. The GameHub emulator runs this title at a solid 35 frames per second. For a fighting game, this frame rate is more than playable, and the Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset ensures the special moves and combos are responsive. MXGP, an official motocross championship game. This title runs at a consistent 30 frames per second on the GameHub emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset keeps the action smooth as you race through muddy tracks, providing a fluid racing experience. Batman, Arkham City, a superhero game that takes you to a gothic open world. GameHub runs this title at a steady 30 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the dark and detailed environments of Arkham City without a hitch, allowing you to soar through the city smoothly. Tomb Raider 2013, an action-adventure game with stunning graphics. This title performs exceptionally well on the GameHub Emulator, hitting a smooth 45 to 50 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset easily handles the lush environments and intense action sequences. Batman: Arkham Origins, a prequel to the Arkham series with a snowy, open-world map. This title reaches an incredible 60 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset delivers an exceptionally smooth performance, making every combat encounter and traversal fluid. Street Fighter X Tekken, a crossover fighting game with an explosive cast of characters. The GameHub Emulator runs this title at a smooth 35 to 40 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset ensures every combo and special move is responsive, making for a competitive fighting experience. Earth Defense Force 4.1, a third-person shooter known for its over-the-top action and hordes of giant insects. This game performs moderately on the GameHub Emulator, with a frame rate between 20 and 30 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the chaos reasonably well. Prototype, a classic open-world game about an amnesiac with incredible powers. This title runs at a decent 20 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. While not perfect, the Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset makes the chaotic gameplay playable enough to enjoy the story. F1 2014, a racing simulation title that puts you in the cockpit of a Formula One car. The game performs at a solid 20 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the detailed tracks and fast-paced racing action fairly well. Dirt 3, a rally racing game with a reputation for its realistic physics. This title runs at a smooth 30 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset allows you to drift and race through the tracks with a stable frame rate. LEGO Star Wars: The Complete Saga, a classic family-friendly adventure. This game performs incredibly well on the GameHub Emulator, hitting 60 frames per second. However, there are significant frame rate drops in certain areas. Despite this, the Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset provides a very smooth experience for most of the game. A Plague Tale: Innocence, a narrative-driven adventure with a strong focus on stealth. This title runs at a solid 20 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the moody atmosphere and hundreds of rats on screen, making for a decent experience. Sleeping Dogs, an open-world action game with a focus on martial arts combat. The GameHub Emulator runs this game at a stable 20 to 30 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset keeps the fast-paced action and driving sequences playable. Dragon Age: Origins, an epic fantasy RPG. The GameHub Emulator runs this title at a solid 30 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset ensures the combat and exploration of this classic RPG remains smooth and enjoyable. The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim, a legendary open-world RPG. This game performs incredibly well on the GameHub Emulator, reaching a stellar 60 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the vast world of Skyrim with ease, providing an exceptionally smooth experience. Fallout 3, a post-apocalyptic RPG that gives you the freedom to explore a massive wasteland. The GameHub Emulator runs this title at an amazing 60 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset brings the desolate world to life with a perfectly stable frame rate. Jump Force, a fighting game featuring an all-star cast of anime characters. The GameHub Emulator runs this title at a stable 20 to 30 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the flashy special moves and chaotic battles smoothly. Dark Souls, an action RPG known for its challenging combat and unforgiving world. This game performs at a respectable 20 to 30 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset helps maintain a steady frame rate, allowing you to tackle the difficult enemies. Need for Speed. Most Wanted 2013, an open-world racing game that puts you on the run from the police. The GameHub Emulator runs this title at a consistent 30 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the high-speed pursuits and traffic-filled streets well. Tiny Rails, a management simulation game where you travel the world by train. This simple, retro-style game runs at a smooth 30 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset easily handles the pixel art graphics and casual gameplay. Hollow Knight, Silksong, a highly anticipated sequel to the acclaimed platformer. This title runs at a perfect 60 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset ensures the fast-paced combat and fluid movement are flawless. Resident Evil 5, a classic co-op survival horror game. This title runs at a stable 30 to 40 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the action-packed gameplay and intense boss fights without issue. Assassin's Creed 3, an action-adventure game set during the American Revolution. This title performs at a decent 20 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the open-world environments and large-scale battles surprisingly well. WRC 3, a rally racing game with realistic physics and a variety of tracks. This title runs at a smooth 30 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset keeps the racing action consistent. Batman, Arkham Knight, a modern superhero game with stunning visuals and an expansive open world. The GameHub Emulator runs this title at a playable 20 to 30 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the detailed Gotham City and intense combat surprisingly well for an emulator. Resident Evil Revelations 2, a survival horror title with a focus on co-op gameplay. This game runs at a consistent 30 frames per second on the GameHub Emulator. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the eerie environments and zombie encounters without issue. Resident Evil 3 Remake, a reimagining of the classic survival horror game. The GameHub Emulator runs this title at a consistent 30 frames per second. The Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset handles the intense action and detailed environments, delivering a solid performance. And there you have it, 35 incredible PC games running on a single mobile device. The GameHub Emulator, paired with the power of the Dimensity 8200 Ultimate chipset, proves that the future of gaming is truly in your hands. What did you think of these amazing performances? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Vanzee Gaming for more videos that push the limits of mobile gaming. Happy gaming, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.